I think the long way around this we can push for is to let us enhance these hatcheries and do more of these ocean releases. You end up with a fish that goes out to the ocean and survives. We catch it, we eat it. I mean, we're in a time now when to get a protein like this can provide is incredible. Hey everybody, it's Hans from H&H. Everybody's probably heard by now that they have shut down salmon on us. The state has decided, Fish and Wildlife has decided that there's not enough fish in the river systems the last couple of years, mostly because of drought, to actually let the fish reproduce. And so they're calling it critical numbers, and so they're going to completely shut us down. No fish, no take this year. The fishermen around here are in big trouble. There's some powers that be that are trying to get some emergency relief and help some of these people out, but it's a scary situation. And the main thing that's gone on is that these last few years of drought, and also a lot of water being taken out from the Central Valley for irrigation and whatnot. There's just an inhospitable atmosphere in the river situations for these salmon. A lot of people don't understand or realize that back in the 50s, they put up dams on a lot of our bigger river systems on the San Joaquin, which is most of our fish that we catch actually go right out from the Golden Gate and go live the 3 years of their life. After they live there, they go back up the Golden Gate and go back to the exact same river system where they were born. That being said, most of those rivers are dammed. So what they've done is they've put hatcheries along these different rivers, and that are supposed to mitigate the fish that are impacted from the dam. They take some of the natural fish that might be going up the dam, and they divert them into the hatcheries. They take their eggs, their sperm, they create baby fish, little smolts about this big, and then they release them. They ideally go down the river and go out to the ocean and reproduce and come back and start the whole cycle. So it's just enhancing the fish. Unfortunately, what's happened over the last quite a few years is that the river systems are so bad that the fish that they let go just aren't making it down the rivers. So they make all these beautiful fish, let them go, and they're just not making it. Like the mortality rate's unreal. There's cormorants that feed on them. There's striped bass that feed on them. So they're not making it. So what's happened over the last few years is that powers that be have let a couple of these hatcheries start to take fish directly from the hatcheries. These are the small little fish, and put them into trucks and actually truck them to the ocean, just like they would go stock a trout lake or a trout stream or something with a soccer fish. They actually bring these smolts in these big trucks, and there's two things. They put them in net pens in our harbors here in Monterey Bay and up and down the coast, and they raise them up until they're good enough and they're acclimated, and they let them go, and then they go out into the ocean and live their life cycle. Either that, or they dump them straight from the hatcheries directly into the ocean without letting them acclimate. Way more fish are surviving when they do this, and so it's actually enhancing our amount of fish that are in the ocean. You know, there's the biologists and the powers that be feel that if we do this and these fish don't come back to their exact rivers and stray into other rivers and other river systems, that it's actually going to genetically mess with the fish. They're not going to be a perfect strain of those fish, which will like adversely affect the strain of fish. And so whether you believe that or not, my personal opinion is that any salmon that goes up and spawns somewhere and has made it from wherever back up the river system to spawn is a healthy fish, and it should be allowed to reproduce. So the win-win of doing this is that we have the ability to put as many fish as we want to into the ocean from these hatcheries. But unfortunately, these hatcheries are underfunded, they're not well equipped, and so they really don't have the resources in order to do this. So there's two things that can happen. First, that need to happen, in my opinion, is that we need to take care of these hatcheries, and we need to fund these hatcheries either privately or through the government, and then we need to get out of the aspect and the thought of the biodiversity ill affecting the rest of the wild population. Population of salmon in the rivers has been affected since the 50s, even before that, into the 1800s. It's never been the same. They already declared that there's no such thing as a completely genetic perfect fish anymore for any of these systems. So in my opinion, that they should just let us put these fish into the ocean, and then we're going to have a perfect scenario where we can all catch fish, we can all eat fish. I mean, it's a over $1 billion industry that they're taking care of us, and they are going to come up with relief money for that, and that relief money that goes to the fishermen and some of the processors, that's going to come straight out of the taxpayer's pocket. So I mean, I just want this salmon to start being seen as more of the resource that it is, and that's food and income for a lot of our people. I mean, and it's going to take some tweaking, but I think we can really get to the point with biologists and all the powers that be to really work around some of these impacts. I think we're kind of here to stay. We're kind of out of the drought now, and they say, but who knows the next coming years. We had 7 years of drought there that are devastating, and that just makes it so the salmon really aren't going to be able to do their natural thing completely anyway. So I think however we can enhance, I believe we really should. That's my opinion. It's such an incredible fish. Just the excitement of the salmon is one of the coolest things to happen in California every year. It's like the salmon's here. It's like the cherries just came into the farmer's market. The fresh salmon's here. The strawberries came in. It's like one of our main food things that we look forward to in California. And our fishermen are really hurting because not only has the Dungeness crab been shut down, started late, and now it's just ending early, so it's taking so much money out of these fishermen's pockets. And then most of them have salmon permits and crab permits. Those are two of the main things that we do in California. And to have one completely closed and one drastically reduced is just making a lot of our friends and our people along this coast, our fishermen, a lot of them just plain aren't going to be able to make it. Unfortunately, in California, a lot of our fisheries, it's like they say and we do, which is interesting. Like if you take us in contrast to like the lobster fishermen of the East Coast, when they get stopped by their powers that be, they actually say, okay, well, our scientists say this and our lawyers say this, and they're able to fight back and kind of meet in the middle, where we are just literally shut down, stopped. And it makes it frustrating. It's like we don't have a voice. I mean, there's always this age-old thing that, I mean, our opinions don't really matter, our fishermen, even though we're on the water every single day. A lot of these fishermen, and there's not a fisherman I know alive that is really like a cutthroat pirate that doesn't care about anything. They know that their resource matters. If their resource isn't well managed, then there's no fish. They're not making a living. They know if, like a good example, if they're in a bunch of small fish and we're hurting them as far as that aren't legally sized to catch, they're going to pick up and move and stop fishing altogether. They know not to mess with their product. Unfortunately, the science and the powers that be, don't really recognize what the fisherman has to say and what people on the water have to say when it's some of the most valuable information, and that people really do care. I'm happy to see that a lot of the younger crew, a lot of the people these days are making their voices heard and are really in an intelligent way, like going and making policy and trying to work with everybody. And I hopefully going forward we'll be able to make some good policy to take care of the resource, take care of the ocean, and intends to take care of fishermen, because we are almost becoming a dying resource. It's kind of scary. So in my opinion, going forward, one of the things that I think we can really do is take care of the in-river situation, meaning not diverting so much water out for agriculture, making sure that there's laws in place for that. But one of the coolest things I know that's out there is the ability to actually enhance our fish at the hatchery level. We have different hatcheries all over that I was talking about earlier, and these need to be just brought up to speed. I mean, we can even privately fund a lot of this stuff through the fisheries. We can actually help to help pay for each fish that is brought from the hatchery and directly released into the ocean, and so pay attention, learn and educate yourself on this whole water issues, and vote and and write letters and do what you can in that direction. I mean, we really do as people have the voice and have the power, and I know that if we all get together, we can really make a difference. Anytime you got questions, feel free to get a hold of us, email, call us at the shop. Me, Heidi, Cade, we'll all love to answer your questions for you, and best we can. And I don't know, enlighten me. These are my opinions that I'm giving you right now. If you know something different, I'm always open. I'm all ears, and we're all in this together to make it right. So, yeah, thank you. H&H out. Appreciate it, everybody. Much love. Ocean salmon, yummy.